let's get the ball rolling. Russell, could you give us a little bit about your background and tell us about your publishing journey?
Sure. I'm Russell. I wrote or edited or something to all of these books. It's sure a lot of them. And man, I did a bad job a lot of the time, but I did a good enough job some of the time that like I was able to keep doing it or until I figured it out more and more and more. And then like eventually people started asking me for my advice, and I was like, this is I don't know why you would ever take my advice. But then people did, and then I was like, oh look, it worked. And then a bunch more people said, oh look, it worked until I was like, hey, look, a bunch of people, maybe my advice is actually better than I thought it was. And then now I have a career. Mainly the main bullet points is I was born in New Jersey. I grew up in Northern Virginia, went to school in Maryland. Then in 2008, we moved out to LA. I started working in movie and TV in 2004 and really 2005. I started working in publishing in 2010. I got my first publishing deal in 2011. I hated all of that. So I bought my rights back in 2014 and started releasing my own stuff through Kickstarter and conventions and direct sales. Um, I don't do, and so a lot of people said they're not out of KU. I don't understand retailers, and most of my books have never been on retailers. In fact, I just unarchived a bunch of books. I have a podcast called The Six Figure Author Experiment where I'm trying to figure out like wide retailers because I make a whole lot of money on my books, but like I make none of them on retailers. And I just launched like 6 books yesterday, which was a very bad idea, but I just could not do that anymore. I needed them to be up. So yes, like my direct sales game is very strong. Monica, my business partner's retail game is very strong. My retail game makes no sense.
And you and Monica together run Writer MBA.
That's correct. Monica licensed my nonfiction work in 2021. No, sorry, 2020. We came out with our first book, Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter in 2021. That was so successful, we started our Kickstarter Accelerator in 2022. And now we have a conference called the Writer MBA, which is in New Orleans, which is all about like connection, direct sales, group, creating a hive brain and like breaking through your biggest blocks.
We've also talked about direct sales, just one-on-one before, and you have an interesting way of sort of breaking down direct sales into different categories because a lot of people, when they hear direct sales, they often think that just means web stores. Right.
Yes, that's basically
So,
what I mean. It could mean
yeah,
some other thing, but everyone says that it means web stores. So like
yeah. So give us your breakdown.
sure. Okay. So like my hot take is that Shopify is not direct sales. Like Shopify is direct sales, but direct sales is not Shopify or whatever it means that like it's bigger. Direct sales is a lot bigger than your web store. So we break this down into direct sales down into 5 sections. One is crowdfunding. So that's where Kickstarter comes in. Subscriptions like Patreon and Ream and all of that like good stuff where people are paying you on a or Substack paying you monthly. Then there's conventions and conferences. That's like the most direct selling, and that's everything from swap meets to Author Nation to San Diego Comic Con and putting your own event on, everything in between. And then there's website sales, which is broken up into 2 sections. One is landing pages, sales pages, series pages, and special offers, which is like you have one page that like sells your thing. And the other half of that is web stores, which is what we mostly associate with direct sales, which is you can buy a bunch of different things on this store that looks like an Amazon page or whatever. So direct sales is actually 5 different categories, and you can be really good at one, really terrible at all of them, great at one, and kind of okay at another one. But like it's really more. We really consider a successful career to be someone who is utilizing the 5 pillars of direct sales and retailers on some point, which is either KU or wide. And I'll just answer the question that people always ask me, which is like, yes, you can do direct sales even when you're in KU, because KU is only for ebooks. You might be exclusive to Audible if you do audiobooks, but like KU means you can still do special editions, you can still do audiobooks, you can still do letters. You can still do things related to your series. You can still do world of books. You can still do a whole lot of stuff. The only thing you can't do is sell that ebook anywhere except Amazon.
Let's chat a little bit more about that very first category, Kickstarter. What tends to perform well on Kickstarter? Because you see a lot of different things on Kickstarter, and certain things like board games do really well there. Some kinds of other games do really well there. For
Sure.
authors, what tends to work out as a type of project that would be successfully funded?
What is the best thing for you to launch tomorrow that is not going to overwhelm you and not going to like bankrupt you, and also not going to like and be able to bring in money, like positive money, like profit money, not revenue money. So like there's the big thing on Kickstarter now are these special edition hardcover books, which are phenomenal. They're beautiful. Also, they take forever to like put together, and like there's a lot of failure points. And since most people haven't done much direct sales, the one thing that I want to control for is failure points. I want to give you the least chances to fail. For instance, your sprayed edges might not look great. And like, well, I don't know, the rest of your campaign might be perfect, but like your sprayed edges might not be good. You might not like have a good a person to source your hardcovers. Like you might need to do so many pieces to make that hardcover work. And often, unless you're doing like a book vault or 48-hour books just revealed they're doing sprayed edges too, like you're probably gonna have to source it from China or somewhere else. So what if that's all exhausting? I look at those campaigns and I say I'm exhausted by them. What I want to do is treat Kickstarter like it is another retailer. So, like, what kind of things? Let's say I'm going to put it on all of the retailers, the paperback on all of the retailers, so that we can all play this game. Um, what kind of things would I do maybe for like a really cool retailer? Well, I might do a retailer exclusive cover. I might do like retailer exclusive formatting. I might have like a retailer exclusive ending, like extra story or extra bits. Um, I might let somebody when somebody buys the book, they can email me their receipt, and I might give them some extra like behind the scenes perks. I might send them like a pin or a bookmark or something like that. So like these are all the things that I think are like doable. But for like someone who's never done a Kickstarter campaign before. Um, so I think that probably there are two campaigns that most people can do that are on this call. One is an anniversary book, which is my book came out 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 6 months, 100 years ago. It came out in the Middle Ages, whatever it is. Like, you can say, we're going to gussy up this book because I already know the story works. This is the biggest thing with a book. You can control for failure points if you know the story works. So like if you already have books that are out that you can do anniversary books and you already know the story works, all you have to do is now all you're trying to do is figure out how to tell this story in Kickstarter or like make it more successful on Kickstarter or something like that. So like what do we do? Well, in order to do a Kickstarter, you have to have something new. Which means like either it has to be brand new from scratch or it has to be new formatting or new something. Like there has to be something, a new cover at least. So I would say look, we're authors. You probably already want a new cover for your book. Even these Wellexia books, I'll bet like the person, like the minute that it went up, it's like, but I really want a new cover now. So like you probably want that new cover. So like let's like indulge you. You probably also want like some cool formatting. Everyone wants cooler formatting in their books inside. So like let's just take those two things. Then let's say for your cool formatting, you have a really cool logo that's going to go on the scene break. And like let's say that becomes a pin and a sticker, some sticker. And like these are your assets that you need to like to for your campaign. Now, I have an article on my website that includes on my author stack site. It's like what's new on Kickstarter. We call it our one-page simple Kickstarter formula, which you plug in a bunch of stuff and then that becomes your campaign. And now you set your campaign goal at $500. So like you've done 90% of the work in an hour and a half or so. Like, yes, you have to do new mock-ups. We all like doing new mock-ups, though. Yes, you have to go commission a cover artist. Who doesn't want to commission a cover artist? Like, you have to go and find like an artist to do your scene breaks. Who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to find pins? So, like, these are all things that are like very manageable. Meanwhile, you're not writing a story and putting a whole lot of stake in that story working so that you because like you're putting $10,000 on the line. I want you to put $0 on the line, as close to $0 as you can on the line to see two things. One, if you like it, and two, if your audience likes it, because you probably are going to get it wrong. I mean, you just probably are going to do it and you're going to launch the campaign and be like, oh, I wish I did what Russell said in the book. Now I know why Russell said that in the book. Because this is the thing we always get, people butting us heads, and then they launch the campaign and they're like, I didn't know why to only run a 10-day campaign. I ran a 58-day campaign, but man, now I know why. So like you're all going to do something that makes sense in retrospect. Monica would tell you if she were here that like she is only just now getting on the have all of your rewards done before the campaign launches trolley. And she's like, this is so much easier. I'm like, I know. That's why I do it. So it's easy. So that's one. The other one is a second chance book where you do all of that same stuff, but instead you're doing it for a book that was much loved, but was not loved enough during its launch. So these are the books that your core audience probably loves the most, but like are very weird. And like, so on one, you're trying to take something profitable and like squeeze more revenue out of it. And the other one, you're taking something that was a failure or flop and you're trying to like turn it into success. So like there's no bad result here because like either you're going to like turn something that was a failure into a success or something that was a success into more of a success. And it's kind of pick your poison then. You probably want to run both because by the time you're running those two campaigns, you're going to be like, aha, now I got it. Now I can run my like $10,000 Kickstarter campaign for X, Y, and Z thing. Or you will say, this was the worst thing I've ever done in my whole life. And I am salting the earth with Kickstarter or somewhere in the middle. But if you spend too long on the forefront trying to put together this massive campaign, one of three things is going to happen. One, it's going to take you a lot longer than you thought. Two, you're going to give up because it's a lot. Or three, it's going to like be a big failure because you don't know the platform and like you just put a bunch of time, energy, and effort to like make this $10,000 goal and you only made $500. Like only 25% of campaigns across the entire platform make 10 grand. You're probably not going to do it with your book the first time through unless you're already very successful. But do I think everyone could make $500? Heck, Evan, like like a Girl Scout could make $500 selling cookies door to door. Like, I think there's a pretty good chance that any author could find $500 of support, $300 barring that. And then at the very worst case scenario, they get out of it with the skin of their teeth and be like, cool, never doing that again. Anyway, that's
Look,
how I would frame it.
look, Russell, I need my Samoas, okay?
Exactly. Well, like that's where you take the Samoa money and you funnel it into. Oh no, sorry, we're not skimming here. That's my.
um yes, I think I know the answer here, but what do you need done before the Kickstarter? Because typically I think a lot of people think of Kickstarter as this sort of way of funding a project before it is done. It's a way of
Sure.
funding an idea, right? And making that idea come to life. So, what if I only have an outline for a book? Could I use a Kickstarter to fund me, taking 3 months off my job to write the book?
I mean, I don't know. The best way to make a lot of money, to make a little money on books is to have a lot, start with a lot of money.
There you go.
And so, I mean, it's really hard to have anyone. It also depends on your background. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you were Lord Baronshire of Dunkworthy and you did something really, really, really exciting, you could raise that money to like write your book. Probably not, though.
Right.
What you need, I think you want the book done because you want to run the next campaign. And here is the thing. If you do a campaign, you then have to deliver that campaign. And the people want their book. And the longer that you take to deliver that book, the more annoying it becomes, and the more irksome it becomes, and the more it weighs on you. It does. I mean, it weighs on you. And so, like, my policy is I always want the book done before I hit launch. Not for them. I don't care about them, but like, I'm an anxious type. Like, I want the book done so I can just send it to the printer and send it off at the end of the day. I think that Kickstarter is at its best when when it is considered another retailer. I also think that like Kickstarter is at its best when you treat it like I'm going to design all of the marketing assets I need for my launch, the rest of my launch. So I have an email sequence for every series. That email sequence was pulled directly from copy that I wrote during my Kickstarter. I have a sales page for my landing page that is pulled directly from my Kickstarter page. I have emails that I send that are like pulled right from the landing page, the Kickstarter page into like bits in my automation sequence. I have uh I have mock-ups that I use for that I use for my marketing and automation sequences. So like I think that it's at its best when you can when people say there's a lot of effort to be put into a Kickstarter, my response is, well, yes, but you've also never run a marketing campaign before because like it's all of the things you need to run a marketing campaign. Most people's experience running books, a newsletter for books is go buy my book. Cool. And now I'm gone. And now I'm going to, I don't know, write the next thing or something. So like Kickstarter is great because it makes you focus on a campaign and figure out what people actually want to buy your series, why people actually want to buy your series, and what stuff does not work for people to buy your series. So we use it a lot as a testing ground. We'll have like additional rewards that we're thinking about offering more broadly. And we're like, oh, that one did not sell. We're not going to do that ever again. Oh, we're going to do this one ever again then. So, like, all of that stuff is like a marketing playground, I think are really good uses for Kickstarter. But I wouldn't tell you to launch any platform and then like write the book, like including Amazon, like Barnes and Noble, like no, maybe like if you have a subscription platform, I would say write the book with your subscribers, depending on like your relationship with them or like what you're offering them. But in general, like you are just going to make more, even if you could make a bunch of money to take 3 months off and write your book, you will make so much more money when the book is done, and it will be so much less stressful when the book is done. And honestly, the reason why I say to take one of those books and like relaunch them is you then have seed money to do whatever you want with the next campaign. Maybe you do raise enough during that first launch to take 3 months off and write the book of your heart. Um, Maybe you don't. And it's a whole lot better to know where you stand when like with work you've already done than with brand new work. Like, because like you're always going to have to, like, if you have a book out, there's always marketing things you have to put into it. So like to put that effort into doing a Kickstarter campaign and like building out a better email sequence or like or like making a better page or making better graphics, like these are all things that like will be helpful to any series that is out, as well as effective to the Kickstarter, as opposed to doing some brand new book that, heck, you might not even write. And yet, like, you're now spending a bunch of time marketing to a page that will never fund because you've raised $500 on a $50,000 campaign. But like, if you're spending that time toning the marketing for a series you already know and like and have to promote, then like you're really investing in that series' success in the long run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. So I should have my book done before I start my Kickstarter. And again, going back to your earlier statement, sounds like the two sort of easiest Kickstarters or the ones you would recommend are anniversary editions, or take those weird, funky books that maybe didn't, weren't as successful at the get-go, and you want to sort of relaunch them. And think about Kickstarter as just more of a retailer and more about like you're taking pre-orders for a book that you've already written. Maybe you're doing some like final polishing on like getting those covers done or whatever. But you should have all of your really key pieces already done there.
Yeah, I
Um,
call it the Brandon Sanderson. So when Brandon Sanderson ran his big campaign, he slammed down a manuscript that needed to be edited and covers. So
right.
those are the two requirements. First, the manuscript may not need to be edited, but it needs to be written and in a physical form that like you can picture what the rest of it will be.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I think one other area where this comes into play, though, is what about for audiobooks? Because that is, writing a book is something where you don't really have that much in terms of upfront costs, where it's really just, I need to sit at my computer and I need to write it all day. You might have some upfront costs in terms of getting those cover designed and doing the editing. Um, but it's not the same as laying out several $1,000s for a narrator to do the production of the audiobook. Would you consider running a Kickstarter to actually as a way of like pre-funding the audiobook production, or would you still advise authors against doing that kind of thing?
I would say that Kickstarter, despite our best efforts, is still very stuck in the physical good world. So if I were to run that kind of campaign, and I have before, I would run it as like a special edition Kickstarter for a print book, maybe a print hardcover with an audiobook supplement that needs to be created. But still, you want to have something physical. We did that with this Void Calls Us Home book. Like this is a special edition. Um, Still not happy with how that justification is. But this is a special edition that had the audio book. We had did an audio drama and it had the audio drama script in the back. This is
Oh,
a second
interesting.
chance book, by the way. We did that for this Odd and in the Dark Place book, a special edition. Um, of a book that had this never. I wish it had this cover because this cover sold so good. We just did it with this book, which is going to be a store exclusive. So this is a short story collection. We are not printing any more of these, except for like the 50 that we printed for the book. It comes, and then there's a audiobook as well. So I mean, I think that like if you do something like that, you then can, and in each case it was like $40 to get the hardcover, and you also got the audiobook, but you could pay like $20 to get the audiobook or the audio drama, and then $5 for the bare bones ebook and $10 for the special edition ebook. And then we did like audio commentary and such for like the series. And so it like wasn't a big lift as far as like time commitment. But because like that's how I would couch a like special edition hardcover campaign, and then use those funds to pay back or pay for the audiobook.
Got it. Okay, so you would not use Kickstarter to just fund a audiobook production alone. It'd always be sort of in tandem with something physical, because so many of those customers on Kickstarter, they're really looking for something tangible. Because if I'm getting something from an author, it would be because I really want something special from them that is going to be unique and really shows off like me being a super fan of that author,
Right.
which you can't really do when you're just getting the same thing that everybody else is going to be able to buy in a month after the book goes on retailers. Like if I'm just getting the same audiobook everyone else is getting, that doesn't show me off as a super fan. But if I'm getting, I'm getting the hardcover with a special unique cover, and I'm getting an audiobook and I'm getting some commentary along with that, then that's super cool to me.
I know this is going to be on YouTube. I'm going to say it anyway. Like I consider it monetizing my garbage. It's like I don't care about my audio commentary. I don't care about my early drafts. Like this is all things that I have done to get to the like end goal of the book, which is what I care about. But like, man, people really want to buy your garbage. Like they really want to buy all of the little like things that like, not that it was garbagely made, it's just like all of the chaff that like came off in making the book, like blooper reels, like extra scenes that were cut, early drafts, outlines, audio commentary, like things, all anything that can like get deeper in the experience that like everyone on this call considers garbage on some level, because like it's not what ends up in the final product. Like it is the
It's the
things,
byproduct of
right?
the process.
It's all of the things you shim off to make the final product look, and like nobody wants to show that stuff. I don't want to show you my garbage or my compost bin. Like I keep them in the back of the house, so like, you can just see my pretty front of house. But like like some people, like if you love a series, I tell people, I'm like, if you love the Dark Tower, how much would you pay for an annotated like Dark Tower like compendium? I know people pay literally hundreds of dollars for it, and they sit there and they like scroll through everything and they track, and they're like this, and like those are the kinds of things like that Kickstarter you can do on Kickstarter to increase the experience without increasing your like marginal costs. Like a special edition camp book generally comes with an early draft of the book, like maybe the first draft, maybe an editor draft, the original outline of the book, which are always hilarious to me because they're so far off of what like actually happened, and the baseline book, and then the special edition book, and then like audio commentary. And the audio commentary is literally me opening the book, turning on my mic and saying, okay, like turn to page 3. Like, this is a funny story of why this happened. Like, here's why this happened. Like, here's this story. Like, here's the backstory of like why I wrote this passage or why I wrote this character the way that I did. And like, I don't know. I don't know why literally anyone on this call is here to listen to me. And yet it's been 34 minutes and they're still listening to me. So like, it must be something. Maybe it's just Evan Gao said how great I was, but like, it's, um, it's like there's something about listening to people talk about creation that like people who read books on a deep level want. Not everyone. A lot of people will not buy your special edition thing. Many more people will buy that special edition thing and then like just never listen to it. Just they want it. They want to have it because they could have it. Um, But like some percent of them will read it. I mean, like VIP calls is another one that's a great, like very low lift. You just say, if you pay me $50, you get a special invite to a VIP. Like all of those things, like access to you is like if people don't have access, like they will pay for access, which is a big thing for all direct sales.
When I'm talking about how to build a mailing list and how to send newsletters and what kind of content is good for newsletters, I always recommend authors have sort of two parts to their newsletters, which is one is building rapport with your audience, sharing stories from your personal life of like, here's a picture of me walking my dog, right? Here's me at the park. Here's me cooking something. It doesn't need to be particularly hilarious or really crazy or anything of the sort. It's just that little peek into what your life is like that helps you build a connection with other people because they see that you're also just another human, like living your life, doing normal human things. And
Right.
saying that way makes you sound like a robot. But yeah, I mean, so people oftentimes want that sort of insider view into what is that process like as a writer, because so many readers put authors on a pedestal where authors are doing this thing that they could never imagine doing themselves, which is, cranking out 50, 75, 100,000, 200,000 words. And so it's just like this, how do you do that? And what is that process like? And it's unique and different for everybody. So it's always really interesting to get that peek inside. I want to pitch you something else as a potential uh thing. If you have an exchange with your editor where you're disagreeing with your editor about no, why this character needs to be doing this, and this is I bet an email exchange between you and your editors. That'd be a great
Yes. I recommend anytime you do anything with the editor notes, you ask the editor for approval because
Right.
like that you do not want an
Absolutely.
irritated editor at you.
Absolutely. No, this is definitely the sort of thing where I would recommend, if you're getting drafts and you're getting notes from editors and you're publishing like the marked up manuscript with your editor's notes and all of that stuff, definitely get permission from your editor. But if you can get them in on it, I think even doing something funny like arguing with them about some part of your book or something would be an interesting idea for
Especially if it's a very
Kickstarter.
popular part of your book.
Yeah.
Like, and one of you was wrong, especially if you were wrong. Like anything that can show that like you were wrong about a thing, like humanizes you to other people.
Yeah.
Someone asked about audio commentary. So the audio commentary is different than the audio book. An audio commentary is me opening the book, just like a director's commentary, and saying, okay, turn to page, I don't know, 37. So in here, the second sentence, like, actually was this why, like, originally wasn't this way. Or saying, oh, the great unknown. So like what's cool about this story is like I wrote it for this thing and Y Z things happened. So like it is background, it is not audiobook.
Like the commentaries you used to get when you would rent a DVD and you could listen to the director's
Right.
comment. Do they still do commentaries on movies? Can you
I
still
think
get
so.
those?
Yeah, I am. I honestly have no idea.
I
Probably.
feel like they used to always do those for like the Blu-ray special edition with director's commentary. Now that no
Yes.
one buys like physical CDs anymore, I
Uh,
I, I wonder if they're still doing them.
so Denise says audio commentary, Mystery Science Theater. That would be a kind of audio commentary, but like you do not have to be funny. You don't have to make it funny or razz your thing like they do in Mystery Science Theater. But sure, you could, I guess. Like you could hire a bunch of comedians to like come and like make I don't know why you would do that, but like usually it's more like a director commentary, like you said.
You've seen a fair number of Kickstarters now. Um, can you give us some like case studies or maybe some stats from authors that you've worked with on their Kickstarters?
Oh God, that's like I'm a coach for something. Like I don't have any of those. I mean, like I know a bunch of people in our system. That I guess the best one in our course, there's a couple of people where we break down their campaign before like where it is now. There's a author named Craig Price who was making about $500 on his campaigns and then read our book and started making like 2 grand on his campaigns and then we brought him into our community and we did a breakdown for him and he started making 5 grand on his campaigns and now like I think he's run just a ton of campaigns. I mean like I no, I don't. I mean, most campaigns fund. The question is
Okay.
not whether it funds. The question is probably going to be how much it funds for and was it a waste of time. The reason why I tell you to control for all of these things is because 99 times out of 100, you won't do any of the things that I say. And like, I might as well say, but at least do a small campaign so you can see why I just said the things that I said. And then once you know the things that I said are right, you can then do the things I said and actually make some real money. Um, but like in general, people think that their opinion is the right opinion, even if they haven't done a thing. I generally think my opinion is the wrong opinion until I test it on myself. But even if you use everything that I say, I want you to be able to do a campaign. Like I want you to be able to launch a campaign today. If you finish that, if you do all the things that I say, in like the in that the 1 page Kickstarter thing, and you have all the assets, like I can set up a campaign and have it running by 3 o'clock today, which I know I like have done a bunch of them. So like but I also said like if you go to the site and like follow the format of the 1 page, like I'm just giving it to you. Like you need 3 questions that relate to the book. Like, do you like this kind of thing? Do you like this kind of thing? Are you excited about this kind of thing? Then this will be amazing. Then like you'll love our book. People always do that one wrong because they don't understand like each one is to get a different type of person to say yes to your campaign. Um, and then you have an image of your book, you have a blurb of your book, you have the specs of your book because that's clarity. You have the specs of your book of like, what is it, 1 book? Is it 10 books? Is it 100 books? What is the size? Is it exclusive? Like, what's it about? Then like, why is it important? Who are the main characters? Why are you on Kickstarter? Who are you? Go buy my book. Goodbye. I don't remember what all of them are, but like, that's generally, if you do those things, you'll be good because you'll have been humanized and you will be clear. The biggest problem people have on Kickstarter is they want to be cute. They saw some marketing campaign like 5 years ago, and it was so cute how they called like each tier of the campaign like by a different cute, silly name. And I come in and I tell them, nobody knows what your book is about. What are these tiers? What is a schmoopy? And they're like, a schmoopy is a this. And I'm like, I don't like, but like, what do I get? And they're like, a book and an audio book. And I'm like, then just make that the name of the tier. And like when you do that, suddenly you're like, oh, look, I know what I want. I know what I can get. Like, look, it's right there. There's an image right there of like the thing that I get. It makes it so easy to do. Like people want to know what is Kickstarter? Why are you on Kickstarter? Why is this book special? Like, and a blurb. The blurb I added late in the process because so many people would be halfway through their page and you'd suddenly say, wait, what is your book about? And they'd be like, everyone will get it. And you're like, no, maybe everyone in your fandom will get it, but I promise you the majority of your fandom has not thought about your book since they read it or maybe ever. So like, and like, even if you talked about it for the last month, they're not going to remember what it's about. You need to put that up high, front and center. So like, there's just some very clarifying things. Oftentimes, it's just like in a sequencing. Authors are like notorious for having sequencing issues. Like, I don't find this a lot with programmers. Programmers tend to be pretty good at sequencing things in order because they know, like, if they do it not in the right order, like everything will blow up and fall apart. Um, Authors don't so much follow sequencing because they're artists. But like, if you just put things in the exact same information in the wrong order, it will confuse people. So a lot of times you look at a page and you're just like, well, this should be second and this should be eighth. And like, And then suddenly you read the campaign and you're like, oh, yes, now I know what your campaign's about. Thank you. So, yeah, it's I I would I'm a very kinetic learner, which I know is not really a thing. So like I'm very much a like go blow it up, like go do it and blow it up and then figure out what works for you. And I'll give you all of the dynamite and I'll show you how to use it safely, but like go and figure out why, because so often Kickstarter is so different. Evan, you and I have made sales pages before because we're in direct sales, we're in nonfiction. Like there's like we have products, like we've done to like almost no authors ever made a sales page before. Like they've written a blurb, they've maybe got a cover and they know how to do a look inside and they know how to like write an email maybe. And like that's usually like this extent of their marketing that outside of ads. So like you're basically have to take somebody who has never even conceptualize the landing page and show them how to like build out their book in a way that makes logical sense. But like it's so freeing because most books cannot be contained to 250 words. This is like the beauty of Kickstarter. Like you have 30,000 characters to like to luxuriate and tell people why your book is important, why you made it, to talk about the characters and the relationships. And you have 2 weeks to just spend nothing but sending emails about like your book and trying different things and using different strategies and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And it's like, it's so freeing because most authors have been contained for their whole careers in explaining an expansive book into a 150 to 250 word narrative and really probably only talking about their A story. That's the secret to a good blurb, by the way. You only talk about the A story and you only talk about the hook to get them to read. So the two biggest things for a blurb. Anyway, so like it's a book. You only need like if you're using this as part of a launch, you need it to make $0. Every dollar that it makes on Kickstarter will be additive to the overall product. So like it's not about will it fund. It's about like how to give a new segment of your audience who has never had a reason to buy a reason to buy your book and spend a lot of money on it potentially.
One of the things that you mentioned there as well is you're going to be during this time frame doing things like sending emails every single day. When you're running a Kickstarter, how big of an audience do you need before you run a Kickstarter? Can you start can you do a Kickstarter for your first book, you've never built an audience before, and put it up there and people will just fund it because they find it on Kickstarter? Or do you need 2,000 people on your mailing list and 100 reviews of the book on Amazon or something like that? Can you give us some guidelines or guideposts for when an author might be ready to start a Kickstarter based on audience size or something of the sort?
Not really, because like how many books do you need to launch a book on Amazon? Like how many readers, like how big an audience do you need to launch a book on Amazon? Like it's zero, but like it's sure going to go a lot better if you have 10,000. I ran my first campaign with zero audio, like zero email list, and we made like 5 grand. So like it also depends. Are you following the constraints of the platform? Like, are you like if you have zero subscribers, but you write a book in mafia romance and like you run ads to it, I mean, you might make five figures that month. Probably not going to make 5 figures, but like you could because like it's such a hot thing that people want. Same thing with like so like meanwhile, if you're writing like um werewolf squirrel shifter knitters, there's probably not a hot demand for it. So you probably need more people on your mailing list to like get excited about your squirrel knitter series. So um that would be the same question that I would throw back to people when they ask. It's like, well, I mean, do you want to make money? Or like, what is your goal? Some people literally just want to run a Kickstarter because they want to see the machinations of how it works. And like, you can do that with zero people. You'll make $0, but like, you could make zero. You could do that. If you want to know when the algorithm is actually helpful, somewhere between 25 and 50 backers, if you can bring that small crowd to the platform, then it will match. I hate saying the word match, but like it will do its work to give you like another 50. Like if you bring 50, it brings 50. If you bring 10, it brings 0. If you bring 25, probably brings 25. But like you want to if there's some number of crowd size between 20 and 50 where you will, if you can get there, Kickstarter will bring you the extra money because Kickstarter only makes its money if you fund. So like if you're going to have zero backers, it can't help you because you're probably not going to fund. But if you can show that you're going to fund, like 90% of projects that reach 30% fund, so you can use that to predict whether Kickstarter should help you. So like they make 5% of every dollar that is successfully funded. So like, hey, if you can show you're going to make $50,000, they're going to push you considerably harder than if you show you can make $50. So like these are all factors, but like the reason why I try to control for so many factors and give you these two like options is because you already will know the story works. Like as an author, the hardest thing is finding a story that works. Once you have a story that works, then you are incentivized to like do more things with it, to like put it in more places. Um, I will say that if you put a book on Kickstarter, the average sale is $25. On Amazon, it's definitely nowhere near there. So if you have a smaller audience, you will make more money from the same people on Kickstarter. My books that sell 100 copies on both, I make like 4 grand on Kickstarter, and I make like, I don't know, $300 on Amazon.
And part of that is you're able to use those tiers and those rewards to sort of upsell people on spending more rather than just getting just the ebook, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Because they're like, oh, well, if I only spend, it's like when you go to the movie theater and they're like, you're getting the medium size for $1, but for 25 cents more, you can get a large. And you're like, well, I guess I'll send the 25 cents. And they're like, well, for another 25 cents, you can get a super extra large. And you're like, well, I guess I'll do that. And
yeah,
you're never
exactly.
gonna
I mean,
be
it's
able, you're never gonna be able
bundling
to
and upselling.
yeah.
Bundling and upselling are things that Amazon is very bad at doing, that Kickstarter is very good at doing. And tickling all of those marketing triggers are things that like, man, especially if you have more than like 2 books, if you have like 3 or 5 books, it gets even better. Like the more things you can sell and the more things you can bundle, the better it goes. But then you have to say, well, you have to temper that by saying, I actually have to fulfill these things. So like I want to expand my brain to be able to do all of the things I've always wanted, but I also have to actually sit down and fulfill them. And like those are the two tugs that most authors have.
Right, because this sort of goes back to a lot of what does well on Kickstarter is those sort of physical things, and the fulfillment side of physical things is just much more difficult than, sending someone an ebook.
Yeah, and
Um,
unfortunately, with fiction, people do want you to sign it. With nonfiction, you can get away with just sending it to a fulfillment house. In general, people want you to sign and touch and personally handle the fiction that you produce on Kickstarter. That's one of the advantages of buying on Kickstarter.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about what your experience is fulfilling those Kickstarter tiers, or have advice for how people do that fulfillment piece of it?
I mean, I would say minimize your physical goods, use BackerKit, and um and and build value through digital products. So someone asked what would I price a an audiobook at $20, and it includes the special edition. So like you get the special edition ebook and the audiobook for $20. And then for usually it's $40 for the hardcover to get the hardcover and all of the things underneath, which is like actually a pretty good deal. Like for $40, that's just usually the price of a hardcover. And that includes, for me, that includes shipping um and tax. So like for a $40 all in, you're like getting the book, the audio book, the audio commentary, the special edition, and the non-special edition. Now, I didn't have to do anything for four of those five things. I just have to ship like the one book still, but like that's actually pretty good value. Like, um, the
Right.
same thing with like the sprayed edges, other things. Like, oftentimes those books cost like $30 to produce by themselves. So, like, if you're charging 60 or even $80, like, but you're including all of the other stuff, or like shipping it in a nice box, or like sending these cool swords, or like whatever thing you're doing, like it's it's real nice. Like you can get a lot, you can pack a lot of value for the same price if you do a lot of digital stuff. And then I would say like pick one good extra reward. We used to do a lot of pins. I've been really liking challenge coins recently because they're flat and they don't, the pins have like little
The
sticks on
backing
the
on it.
back. The like the actual pin part of it on the back was a challenge coin is flat. If you write fantasy, challenge coins work. I don't see how challenge coins would work in like romance, but like maybe
What is a challenge coin?
they use it a lot for RPGs. So like like
Ah, so
it's
this
like this is a god coin from our series, the Obsidian Spindle Saga. That's the back. It's a wannabe press logo, and then this is the front. It says, "In lightness there is truth, gods above all." This is what the coins the gods use to like barter with each other. Um, so yeah, and like it's pretty easy to like make a challenge coin. I hire somebody who knows how to make them, and then they just hand me files, and then I have a distribute a manufacturer who does them. Same thing with like this pin. Is this the right pin? Some of these pins on this table were like from previous campaigns. Pins are great because people have find high value in pins. Um, there's not that much that people have like a high value on. So like these were, if you bought, I did a when I launched the Seed and Spindle Saga, if you bought spent $100 on the four new books, you got a challenge coin for free. But I also do like a book is $40, but a book and a pin is like $60. A lot of people upgrade to the pin given
hmm,
that thing. And that means that there's very few SKUs. So my books look unimpressive when you go look at them on Kickstarter. But like I promise you, they are more profitable than almost any other book that gets launched on Kickstarter because like I'm not doing anything extra. Oftentimes the books have the retailer cover on them, but they're getting them like a month or three beforehand. That's the only difference. Usually they have an exclusive cover. It might be the only time to get them in hardcover. Um, but I am chronically ill. And people don't see it when they look at me. They think I have boundless energy, but like this is the thing that I'm doing today. And then I'm like going to the movies or something. Or like laying down for the next 4 hours because I have no energy left. So like I just don't have it in me to like do a lot of like fulfillment unless it's going to be profitable. So yeah, my thing would be like keep think about the fact that you have to pack everything that you do or find a fulfillment house. And with very few exceptions, the fulfillment house isn't going to fulfill like 10 or 20 orders for you. They want to have like 100 or so orders. I got this from the Beetlejuice exhibit. So like maybe like a passport type thing would be good. Um, if you have a short story, one of the things people asked me for years for my series was, would I ever print the prequel novella? And so I just did that for our last campaign. I was like, why would you want, it's 60 pages. Why would you want this? But like my mama always said, people want to pay you, like if people want to pay you for something, let them.
Sage advice. Yeah. Do you have any specific recommendations on good manufacturers of those pins or challenge coins, or for fulfilling, or for,
Sure.
producing the hardcovers, or anything like
I,
that?
I just remembered that I have an entire page on my website, which is russellnohelty.com/recommendations, where I have recommendations for all sorts of stuff. Like
Fantastic.
stuff that I don't even know why I put it on there. Like I was looking through it yesterday. I was like, why do people need to know where my glass cleaners are? Who would have asked me for that? And yet someone must have, because I only put stuff up there when people ask me. This is my manufacturer for all of my merch. Um, they're quite good and quite inexpensive. They're order limited.
gs-jj.com. Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, I've used them for years now. They've never disappointed me. They don't have a ton of like super fancy options, but I don't I don't know if you can tell this. I'm not really like a super fancy option kind of person. Like I just want something that's durable and really good and like really well made. So I will forego that for ease of use.
Gotcha. So russellnohelty.com/recommendations to get that list of uh manufacturers and all that stuff. And then when it comes to actually, I'm actually curious in this like physical side. You get, let's say 100 or 200 or 400 books delivered to your house. You're packing all of those in boxes, and then you're just taking like a pallet of books to USPS?
Yeah, this is really annoying because I used to bring it to a distribution center that stopped accepting my books. But yes, I use Pirate Ship and BackerKit to do all of my pricing. And then I take all of those to USPS or UPS, and they deal with it. But I do it. It's already packed by the time I get to people. People that go to the post office to get things weighed make no sense to me because pirate ship exists and it's free. You can just use it to ship one item and you never have to stand in line at the post office again. I guess some people like the post office. I don't know. Or like,
I've never heard of Pirate Ship before.
yeah, it's like you can, it's free, man. Even
Okay.
even using even using any of the other options is way better than standing in line. But like Pirate Ship is free, and they have this really cool simple export rate, which will ship you overseas to any country starting at $20 instead of $45, which is what it used to cost to ship anywhere. Um, so yeah, it's uh I usually like pick a day. So you can see here, you see that over there on that on the
Yeah, the
right here. There's a bunch of boxes that I'm waiting for packages on. I try to keep it contained to a very small area in a very small amount of time, so my wife doesn't frick out. Um, she's gotten very good at not showing me that she's freaked out, but like she I can tell. We've been together 20 years. I know when she's uncomfortable with a bunch of so yeah, like they usually come in. I spend like a day or a half day signing them, and then a day or a half day packing them. I pack all the like orders together, and then like I kind of have like a daisy chain of how to do things. I work my way from the most complicated package to the least complicated package. And I mean, even with a big like 500 book order, I can get those through those in like a day, probably like 8 to 10 hour day, depending on like what'll happen if the bigger order is I will spend an entire day signing and then I will spend an entire day packing. Whereas with a smaller order, I will I will sign for like an hour or two, and then I'll pack for an hour or two, and then I'll ship it off that same. I'll just bring it to the post office that same day. So it's a little bit I actually prefer the smaller campaigns because I can get them done in far less time. And they're usually far less complicated because there's less. What really gets you when you're doing orders is the edge cases. So like someone wants these three books and these two things and these one things. And so like that those take a lot of thought when you're just packing like the exact same thing together, like you can do that pretty fast. And the more total orders, the more edge cases there are because there's more people that are backing at the higher levels.
That makes sense. Well, I don't want to take up more of people's time. We're already a little bit over on the time. So, where can people go if they want to learn more from you and get that cheat sheet with what they ought to be doing for their Kickstarters and all of that stuff?
Sure. So my blog is theauthorstack.com. I don't know how to like say this link, but like that's the link to the actual thing where you can download the one sheet. It's like authorstack.com. I'm not gonna do it. I refuse. I refuse, Evan. I'm not gonna do this. Um,
I'm gonna do it for you, Russell. It's www.theauthorstack.com/p/what's new on Kickstarter since Get. And there's a dash between each one of those. What's new on Kickstarter since Get. And I will post that link in the description on the replay as well, so no one has to type it out. And so theauthorstack.com and then russellnohelty.com as well, right?
yes. RussellNohelty.com is where you can find all my fiction stuff, all the stuff that I built, all of this, the girdings on, all these books on. Um, yes, someone did have one question that was, how would you price audio commentaries on Patreon? I mean, that depends on your main thing. Like, let's say it's $5 to get the book, then probably $10 to get audio commentaries. I also don't know at what cadence you would put those out. But for me, books are 5, deluxe commentaries are 10, so that's probably a good maybe 7, 5 to 7. I don't know what the thing is. I don't really do
Good
Patreon very
guidepost.
much, so like uh but I do let those audio commentaries be on our direct store. So that is the only other place to get them to incentivize people to buy from our direct store. That's you get the audio commentaries included, and they are available nowhere else. That is one thing that I liked about audio commentaries.
And let's say that people have questions after this. They realize, oh man, I wish Evan had asked this, or I wish I had dropped that in the chat. Where could authors go to get in touch with you or learn more from you?
Sure. Well, you can comment on any of the many articles that I have on the author stack, or my email is Russell, two S's, two L's at wannabepress.com. It's like
Awesome.
WANNABE press.com. That's the name of my publishing company too.
Well, thanks so much for coming and chatting with us today. I found this super enlightening. I'm always interested in how exactly these things work from a mechanical point of view because I've never done that sort of Kickstarter fulfillment kind of thing. So it's always interesting to me hear how people are doing that. Thanks again for everyone else that came and hung out with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next one.